In this story, you will step into the quiet, radiant world of Athena, goddess of wisdom, strategy, and unshakable calm. Throughout a single day of her immortal life, you will follow her from the moment she awakens within the towering halls of Olympus to the final hours when she reflects on the choices of mortals and gods alike. This tale unfolds slowly, richly, helping you sink into a mythic calm. You will see how Athena observes the mortal world, guiding heroes with a silent, steady hand, shaping destinies with her voice of reason. You will walk beside her as she studies prophecy, navigates divine politics, and carries the weight of ancient battles remembered only by the gods. Each moment reveals not just her power, but the deep discipline that defines her very nature. As her day progresses, you will uncover hidden corners of Olympus, the chambers where ideas are born, the gardens where memories remain untouched by time, and the silent rooms where gods come to face their own thoughts. Through Athena's eyes, the world becomes sharper, clearer, and more deliberate, showing the quiet strength behind her wisdom. By the end, you will feel the quiet pulse of her purpose, how she guards mortals not through force, but through clarity and guidance. And as night settles over Olympus, you will share the stillness that surrounds her when she finally places her spear aside. This story invites you to relax, to breathe, and to experience a divine day shaped by discipline, intention, and timeless calm. Welcome to my channel. Before we start, it's a good idea to get into bed and relax. I would also like to ask you to subscribe to my channel, like it, and write in the comments where you are from and what time it is. Thank you. Have a nice viewing. The first light of Olympus slid softly across Athena's marble chamber, painting gentle lines across her armor and the quiet shelves of scrolls beside her bed. She did not wake with haste or alarm, for her mind was already alert long before her eyes opened. Wisdom, after all, never truly sleeps. As she rose, the air shimmered faintly with the calm presence that followed her everywhere. She crossed the silent hall, her steps echoing lightly beneath towering columns carved with forgotten myths. Outside her window, clouds drifted like slow waves, parting just enough to reveal distant lands. Athena often greeted the world this way, without words, without judgment, simply observing. Mortals stirred below, unaware that a goddess watched their fragile rhythms with a patient heart. Her morning ritual began not with weapons or armor, but with thought. She sat beside a stone table etched with star patterns, a place she used to reflect before the tasks of the day. Here, she reviewed the subtle threads of fate, listening for shifts that hinted at rising conflicts or hidden opportunities. The quiet hum of the cosmos spoke in fragments only she could understand. Today, she sensed a restlessness in the mortal realm. Small ripples of fear, sparks of ambition, whispers of choices that might shape entire destinies. Athena inhaled deeply, letting the patterns settle. She knew no day was trivial, for even simple moments carried weight. When mortals struggled, she felt their efforts like vibrations through the fabric of existence. Before leaving her chamber, Athena reached for her spear, not in aggression, but as a reminder of balance. Its golden tip gleamed faintly, reflecting her steady gaze. She carried it lightly, as though it were made of memory rather than metal. Every weapon she held symbolized clarity, discipline, and the careful boundary between guidance and interference. She moved through Olympus as the city slowly awakened. Gods murmured in their distant halls, and the sweet scent of ambrosia drifted from the gardens below. Yet Athena's path remained calm and focused. She nodded respectfully to the muses who passed by, their laughter bright as morning bells. Even among the mortals, her presence stood apart, quiet, observant, deeply centered. She soon arrived at a balcony overlooking the mortal world. From this height, she could see both triumph and sorrow unfolding like intertwined threads. A young craftsman prayed for guidance, a wandering soldier hesitated at a crossroads, a scholar struggled with doubt over a discovery. Athena listened, absorbing their hopes with a gentle, almost maternal focus. Her attention settled on a distant city-state preparing for an unexpected conflict. The people moved with urgency, sharpening blades and gathering shields. Yet Athena sensed that their greatest battle would not be fought on open fields, but within their own minds. Fear, pride, and uncertainty clashed far more fiercely than spears. She whispered a soft blessing of clarity toward them. As the morning deepened, a warm wind circled her, carrying distant voices of gods debating matters of power. Athena allowed the sound to pass without distraction. Her work was not noise, argument, or rivalry. It was the quiet architecture of wisdom. With calm resolve, she turned from the balcony, preparing to descend into the council halls where her presence would soon be required. The council hall of Olympus shimmered with a faint golden glow as Athena approached its arched entrance. Inside, the air vibrated gently with divine energy, shaped by countless conversations layered over centuries. She entered quietly, yet her presence drew respectful pauses from the gods who had already gathered. Wisdom required neither announcement nor ceremony. Zeus stood near the central pillar, his expression unreadable as shifting clouds circled behind him. Though father and daughter shared mutual respect, their perspectives often differed. Athena approached him with a measured calm, bowing her head just enough to honor his authority without diminishing her own dignity. Balance was always her silent companion. Before long, the council began. Hermes brought news of disputes among coastal cities, while Apollo reported unsettling omens in the patterns of sunlight. Eris, restless as ever, insisted that rising conflicts required swift and forceful action. Athena listened without interruption, her mind sorting each fragment, weighing motives, consequences, and the subtle currents beneath every word. When her turn came, she spoke with quiet certainty. Her voice flowed like clear water, steady, confident, unburdened by emotion. She explained that mortal tensions were not born from strength or weakness, but from misunderstanding. A misread treaty, a proud general, a fearful ruler. These ingredients, left unattended, could spark unnecessary war. Yet with guidance, peace still held shape. Eris scoffed loudly, leaning back with an amused curl of lip. Mortals always crave conflict, he argued. You're delaying the inevitable. Athena met his stare with unwavering calm. She did not challenge him loudly. She simply allowed silence to answer first. Then she responded that inevitability was merely the excuse of those unwilling to think deeply. Zeus watched the exchange with silent contemplation. He understood both perspectives, yet he knew that Athena's judgments were rarely clouded. After a thoughtful pause, he granted her the authority to intervene as she saw fit. Ares muttered under his breath but did not object further. Victory through wisdom had always irritated him, though he would never admit it. With the council adjourned, Athena stepped outside into the sunlit courtyard. Here, olive trees whispered softly as a warm breeze danced through their branches. She placed her hand against the bark of the oldest tree, feeling its slow heartbeat resonate with hers. This courtyard was her sanctuary, a reminder that peace, though fragile, could grow roots deeper than war. She spent a few quiet moments planning her next actions. The city-state she had observed earlier required more than a single blessing. It needed strategy, courage, and a shift in perspective. Athena resolved to visit the dreams of its leaders, offering insight in symbols they would understand. Mortals learned best when solutions felt like their own discoveries. Yet before she could begin her descent to the mortal realm, a faint tremor rippled through Olympus, a soft, rhythmic pulse like a distant heartbeat. Athena turned sharply, sensing a subtle disruption in the threads of fate. Something, or someone, had altered the flow of an event she had been monitoring. The day, it seemed, was preparing to challenge her focus. Athena paused at the edge of the courtyard, her senses sharpening as the tremor echoed once more through Olympus. It was not violent, nor was it chaotic. Instead, it felt deliberate, like a quiet knock on a sealed door. She closed her eyes and traced the disturbance back to its origin. A single mortal decision had shifted course, bending destiny in an unexpected direction. The source lay within the very city-state she had been observing. A young commander, burdened by fear of failure, had made a sudden choice that spiraled into the fabric of fate. Instead of preparing for peaceful negotiation, he urged his people toward defensive fortification. It was a small deviation, yet Athena knew how swiftly such choices could ignite a wildfire of conflict. She stepped toward the marble ledge overlooking the mortal world, her expression composed but resolute. If she intervened too boldly, the mortals would learn nothing. If she intervened too softly, fear would continue to shape their path. Athena exhaled slowly, centering herself. Balance, strategy, and patient guidance. These were the tools she relied on more than any spear. Before descending, Athena summoned a thin, shimmering thread of light between her palms. It held the memories of countless leaders, rulers who had learned strength through understanding rather than force. With a gentle gesture, she released the thread into the wind, allowing it to drift toward the mortal commander's dreams. Wisdom, she believed, should arrive quietly, like dawn. But destiny was rarely simple. As the light traveled downward, a shadow crossed its path. Soft, almost playful, yet certainly unwelcome. The energy tasted familiar. Athena narrowed her eyes, recognizing the subtle presence of Eris, the goddess of discord. Mischief rarely acted alone, and Athena suspected that Eris, too, had taken an interest in the rising tension among mortals. Eris enjoyed stirring trouble not through grand gestures, but through tiny doubts that festered over time. A whispered rumor, a misplaced fear, a spark of jealousy. Athena understood that her day had grown more complicated. Guiding one mortal was delicate. Guiding them while Eris sowed confusion was an entirely different challenge. Yet Athena felt no frustration, only renewed focus. Determined, she descended from Olympus in a swirl of soft white light. The mortal realm welcomed her with warm air and the distant hum of village life. She appeared unseen beside the city's stone walls, observing guards moving with anxious purpose. Their movements were uneven, rushed. Fear had already taken hold, tightening its grip across the streets. Athena moved through the city like a calm breeze. Her presence felt but unseen. Children paused mid-play as a sudden comfort washed over them. A merchant, troubled by rumors, found his heartbeat steadying for reasons he could not name. Even the olive trees grew still, as though bowing in quiet recognition. Her influence was subtle, but its effect spread gently. Finally, she reached the commander's quarters, a small stone room lit by a single lantern. The young man paced in circles, his brow tense, thoughts scattered like broken arrows. Athena watched him silently. He was not arrogant, nor cruel, merely overwhelmed by responsibility. Mortals often carried the weight of imagined failures more heavily than the real ones they had yet to face. With a soft motion of her hand, Athena entered his thoughts. His vision blurred as the world around him softened into a dreamscape where olive branches glowed like silver fire. Here, she spoke through symbols, an open gate representing diplomacy, a still pool symbolizing clarity, a flaming shield warning against needless conflict. She trusted that he would understand in time. The commander drifted deeper into the dream Athena shaped for him. Colors softened, sounds quieted, and the weight on his shoulders eased for the first time in days. He walked across the glowing landscape, touching the symbols she placed before him. The open gate shimmered like warm sunlight, inviting him toward a path free of fear. He hesitated, studying its meaning. Athena did not speak with a voice. She allowed understanding to rise within his mind naturally. He reached toward the still pool, watching its surface ripple with reflections of future possibilities. In those shifting images, he saw negotiations, peaceful accords, and alliances born from courage rather than suspicion. Slowly, his breathing calmed, and clarity began to return. But as the dream stabilized, a faint crack trembled across the horizon. Athena sensed the disruption immediately. Eris had found her way into the young man's subconscious. A shadow slipped through the olive branches, soft, sly, and tinted with gold. It took the form of a whisper, twisting around the commander's thoughts like smoke searching for a flame. The whisper told him that peace was naive, that enemies would exploit any weakness. It urged him to harden his heart, to mistrust the symbols before him. Athena stepped forward, her presence radiating calm strength. She raised a hand, and the dream brightened with a gentle white glow, pushing back the shadow with patient but unwavering force. The commander stood between two influences, one warm and steady, the other sharp and uncertain. Athena watched him wrestle with his doubts. She knew that mortals did not grow by being handed simple answers. They grew by facing conflict within themselves. So she waited, offering light but not pressure, guidance but not control. His choice would shape the day. After a long, trembling pause, he stepped toward the open gate. The shadow recoiled, shrinking into the cracks of the dreamscape. Athena felt the balance shift, subtle yet unmistakable. The young commander had chosen courage. True courage, not the frantic urgency born from fear. She allowed the dream to soften and dissolve, releasing him back into waking life. The lantern flickered as he woke, drawing a slow breath. Though he could not remember the dream clearly, a new clarity settled within him. He sat at his desk, writing swiftly, notes for peaceful outreach, requests for dialogue with their neighbors, and adjustments to their defenses that emphasized caution, not aggression. Athena watched with quiet pride from the shadows. Satisfied, she stepped back into the city streets. The tension in the air loosened, like a tightened rope finally allowed to breathe. Merchants sensed a shift, guards felt steadier, and the people moved with a subtle but growing confidence. Athena's influence, though invisible, spread like a gentle tide through every corner of the city-state. Yet she knew her work was not finished. Eris would not abandon her interests so easily. Discord thrived on uncertainty, and a single mortal decision would not sat her. Athena lifted her gaze toward the mountains beyond the city. A strange, unnatural glimmer flickered along the ridgeline, evidence of a disturbance that did not belong to the mortal world. Without hesitation, Athena ascended the slope, her steps soundless upon the rocky path. The air grew colder as she neared the ridge, carrying faint echoes of quarrels, whispers of doubt seeded by Eris and other minds. Athena followed the trail of discord like a seasoned hunter tracking a familiar foe. The mountains, silent and ancient, bore witness to her steady resolve. As Athena reached the mountain ridge, the glimmer she'd seen from below sharpened into thin, shifting strands of golden mist. They curled and swirled like restless serpents, each carrying the faint scent of agitation. She knelt beside one strand, touching it with the tip of her fingers. It vibrated with the unmistakable energy of Eris. Chaotic, playful, and dangerously persuasive. Following the drifting threads, Athena entered a narrow pass carved long ago by storms and time. The air here felt heavier, as though each breath carried echoes of arguments left unresolved. She stepped carefully, allowing her senses to map the disturbance. Mortals had ascended this path earlier, their hearts clouded with sudden distrust. The chaos was spreading faster than she anticipated. She soon found the first sign of Eris's interference. Two scouts from neighboring villages stood at opposite ends of a small clearing, shouting accusations at one another. Their voices were sharp, brittle, fueled by fears that moments earlier had not existed. Athena approached unseen, studying the tension between them, feeling how discord had taken root like a sudden frost. Eris had seeded doubts in both men, turning neutral glances into perceived threats, simple observations into imagined insults. Athena stepped between them, though neither mortal could see her. She lifted her palm, letting a soft, silver ripple of clarity flow outward. Their shouts faltered, and confusion replaced anger as they struggled to understand why they had quarreled at all. They hesitated and then quietly parted ways, shaken but calmer. Athena watched them leave before turning her attention deeper into the mountains. Eris was near, too near. Athena felt the shifting energy tremble like laughter hiding behind stone. She walked toward the source with unwavering composure, knowing confrontation was inevitable. Wisdom and discord had crossed paths countless times before. Soon she reached a wide plateau bathed in pale sunlight. At its center stood Eris herself, smiling with mischievous delight. Her golden hair shimmered like fractured sunlight, and her eyes glowed with the thrill of unfolding chaos. "You're early," Eris said, her voice carrying both charm and mockery. "I expected you after the mortals had already ruined everything." Athena stepped forward calmly. "You overestimate chaos," she replied, "and underestimate the strength of choice." Eris laughed softly, circling her like a curious flame. "Choice?" she echoed. "Mortals choose fear. They always choose fear. I simply reveal it." Athena did not rise to the provocation. Instead, she met Eris's gaze with unwavering steadiness, a silent counterweight to her volatility. "Your whispers won't work today," Athena said gently. "They've already begun to see through them." Eris tilted her head, unfazed. "Perhaps, but all it takes is one doubt, one poorly timed rumor, one spark, and harmony collapses." She snapped her fingers, and the air crackled with discordant energy. The mountains groaned as the tension she summoned pulsed outward. Athena raised her spear, not to strike, but to stabilize. The weapon gleamed with a calm radiance that pushed back the trembling air. Silver light spread in a wide arc, restoring balance to the plateau. Eris frowned, but only briefly. "You can't keep this up forever," she murmured. "Mortals change, Their hearts shift like sand, Athena answered softly. Then I will meet every shift. Eris stepped back, her expression a blend of admiration and annoyance. Very well, she said. I'll withdraw. For now. With a flutter of golden mist, she vanished, leaving behind only the faint scent of tension. Athena lowered her spear, exhaling slowly. The mountains settled, the energy calmed, and the path ahead brightened. Yet she knew this victory was temporary. Athena lingered on the plateau, letting the wind carry away the last whispers of discord. The mountains were silent once more, though she knew the balance she had restored was fragile. Even immortals could not eliminate doubt entirely. They could only guide it. Her mind turned back to the city below, where mortal decisions continued to unfold, small yet significant threads in the tapestry of fate. Descending the mountain slope, she allowed her senses to sweep across the landscape. Olive groves shimmered in the afternoon sun. Villages hummed with activity, and distant fields bore the orderly patterns of human labor. Athena walked with measured steps, observing without intrusion. Her presence felt only as a faint calm that eased tension in unseen hearts. As she neared the city gates, Athena encountered a group of villagers carrying supplies to fortify the walls. Their faces were drawn with concern, but their movements were coordinated. Athena smiled faintly. Fear could be tempered when guided by reason. She touched a lantern that one carried, letting a subtle glow inspire clarity and cooperation without their conscious awareness. Inside the city, the commander prepared for a council of leaders. He had retained fragments of Athena's dream, even if he could not consciously recall its source. His strategies were measured, his proposals cautious yet confident. Mortals often acted more effectively when wisdom seemed like their own, rather than a gift imposed from outside. Athena watched silently from a nearby balcony. The council began, and the commander spoke first. His words were steady, balancing caution with diplomacy. Neighbors listened, considering the proposals without the usual suspicion. Athena observed subtle changes in posture, in tone, in the flicker of eyes. Each small signal told her that guidance had taken root. Harmony, she knew, was built from countless tiny acts of clarity. Even as the council progressed peacefully, Athena remained alert. The shadow of Eris lingered in the unseen corners of thought, waiting for missteps. Yet the goddess of wisdom did not falter. She leaned lightly against the balcony railing, sensing every subtle vibration of intention, every heartbeat of doubt, and guiding them quietly away from choices born of panic or pride. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, casting long shadows on the city streets. Athena's presence continued to ripple subtly, encouraging cooperation, patience, and foresight. Children played safely in the square. Artisans worked without distraction, and the people began to speak in calm, measured tones. Even in small moments, she recognized the power of her influence. By late afternoon, Athena felt the city's energy shift fully. Fear and suspicion had been replaced by cautious confidence. The commander had made several wise decisions, each reinforced by his newfound clarity. Even minor disputes were resolved without conflict. Athena allowed herself a rare, small smile. Balance, she knew, was not an event but a continuous process. One she would guide patiently, every day. As twilight approached, she returned to the city's outer walls to observe the horizon. The sky glowed in shades of rose and gold, the mountains casting long shadows that stretched like protective arms. Athena's mind wandered briefly to Olympus, to her chambers, to the quiet halls of wisdom waiting for her return. Even the goddess needed moments of reflection after guiding mortal hearts. Before leaving, she touched the earth near the gate, leaving a faint, invisible mark of guidance. It was a subtle reminder for mortals to act with thoughtfulness, to choose clarity over fear. Athena's day was far from over, but this city had taken its first steps toward lasting peace. And as she stepped into the fading light, she felt the quiet satisfaction of a task done with care, precision, and enduring wisdom. Night began to settle over the city, soft shadows stretching across streets and rooftops. Athena moved quietly through the streets, her presence like a gentle breeze brushing against the worries of mortals. Lanterns flickered in the evening air, casting golden reflections on cobblestones. Even in darkness, she guided without disturbance, weaving calm into every corner of the city. The commander paused at his window, Looking out over the city he now saw with clearer eyes. Athena lingered nearby, unseen, letting him feel the faint assurance that had come from the dream. Decisions he had feared now felt manageable, and challenges that once seemed insurmountable appeared as problems that could be solved with patience and strategy. His heart lightened in subtle, profound ways. Athena's attention drifted to the outskirts, where a group of travelers had arrived unexpectedly. They were weary, burdened by journeys and uncertainties. Without a word, she touched the air near their path, sending a whisper of calm into their minds. Fear subsided, and a sense of direction returned. Mortals rarely noticed her direct influence, yet the subtle guidance shaped their choices as effectively as any spoken word. High above, the stars began to shimmer with the brilliance of distant worlds. Athena paused on a rooftop, watching the constellations she had once named, tracing the patterns that mirrored her own strategies and designs. Each star reminded her of the interconnectedness of all things: gods, mortals, and destiny intertwined in a delicate web that required careful attention and constant care. A soft murmur drifted from the city square, a song of gratitude, small and unnoticed, carried by the wind. Athena allowed herself a moment to feel it, understanding that even unseen acts of influence resonated far beyond immediate perception. Peace did not always arrive with fanfare or visible triumph. Often, it was quiet, incremental, and deeply rooted in choices made with insight rather than fear. Yet Athena remained vigilant. Though the city had calmed, she sensed faint echoes of discord still attempting to take root. Mortals, after all, were never fully free from uncertainty, and Eris's mischief could always return. Athena walked along the edge of the walls, her eyes scanning each shadow, her presence stabilizing the air. She was patient, knowing that wisdom worked over time, not instantly. In the heart of the city, families prepared for the night. Children's laughter mingled with the quiet conversations of elders. Merchants secured their wares, and guards patrolled with calm confidence. Athena observed the subtle harmony growing among them, a reflection of the choices they had made under her gentle guidance. Each small decision became a thread weaving the tapestry of safety and order. She paused near a small fountain, watching water ripple under the moonlight. The movement reminded her of mortal thoughts, sometimes chaotic, sometimes serene, but always capable of clarity when guided patiently. Athena touched the surface with a finger, sending a ripple of silver light across it, a silent reinforcement of calm and understanding that would remain long after she departed the city. Even as the night deepened, Athena continued to watch. Her work was never fully complete, for mortal hearts shifted constantly. But in these hours, the city rested in relative peace. She allowed herself a moment to reflect on the day, the commander's choices, the villagers' cooperation, the subtle defeat of Eris's mischief. Each act of wisdom had strengthened the bonds between mortals and their potential. Finally, Athena ascended silently to a rooftop above the city gates, gazing toward Olympus. The stars above were constant, unchanging, yet the world below continued to move and breathe, alive with the energy of human choice. She took a deep breath, feeling the quiet satisfaction of a day guided wisely. Even immortals found moments of fulfillment in observing growth born from careful guidance. The night deepened, and the city settled into quiet rhythm. Athena lingered on the rooftop, observing the gentle movements of mortals below. Lanterns swayed in the soft evening breeze, casting playful shadows that danced across the walls. Even in darkness, her presence guided subtle thoughts, moments of clarity that would blossom into wiser choices with the coming day. In one corner of the city, a young scholar wrestled with a complex problem, unaware of Athena's silent encouragement. The goddess sent a faint ripple of insight into his mind, a quiet nudge that illuminated connections he had overlooked. Slowly, solutions began to form in his thoughts, as if an unseen hand had aligned the pieces of his reasoning into a harmonious pattern. Elsewhere, a merchant reflected on a recent dispute with a competitor. Tension had simmered dangerously, yet Athena's influence eased the stubbornness in both hearts. Each recognized the value of compromise, and decisions shifted toward fairness and foresight. Such quiet victories, though invisible to most, reinforced the foundation of peace she had woven through the city during the day. Athena's gaze swept across the cityscape, noting the subtle effects of her guidance. Streets once tense now carried a sense of cooperation. Children played safely, Families spoke with understanding, and leaders acted with measured confidence. Even small choices, whether to speak kindly or act with patience, echoed outward, strengthening the harmony she had cultivated so carefully. High above, clouds drifted lazily across the moon, and the stars glimmered faintly through the gaps. Athena's mind wandered to Olympus, to the halls where wisdom was stored and memories of countless mortal and divine events were kept. She knew her day was far from over, yet moments like these, quiet, observational, reflective, were as vital as the grand interventions of her more visible deeds. A faint shiver in the air caught her attention, an echo of discord, subtle but distinct. Athena recognized it instantly as the lingering trace of Eris, the goddess of discord. Though Eris had withdrawn earlier, her influence was never fully gone. Athena's presence alone steadied the energies, but she remained alert, prepared to counter any subtle mischief before it could grow into meaningful disturbance. She moved silently along the rooftops, tracing the faint currents of mortal thought and divine interference alike. Every flicker of fear or doubt, every ripple of hope or courage, registered in her awareness. Athena did not interfere unless necessary. She allowed mortals to discover their own strength. Her role was guidance, not control, a delicate balance that demanded patience and foresight in equal measure. In a quiet alley, a young child struggled with a small task, frustrated by repeated failure. Athena's presence brushed past gently, sending a whisper of patience into the child's mind. The boy's frown softened, and he approached the challenge with renewed determination. Moments like this, seemingly insignificant, were the threads that wove the broader tapestry of wisdom and resilience across the city. As the night matured, the city rested more fully. Guards walked their posts with calm vigilance. Merchants secured their goods, and families found solace in the warm glow of lamps. Athena observed each movement, each choice, with quiet satisfaction. Her guidance had been subtle, yet it had strengthened the collective balance of thought and action, weaving calm into the fabric of the mortal realm. Finally, Athena returned to the highest rooftop, gazing toward the horizon where the first hints of dawn would soon appear. The stars, constant and eternal, reflected her own enduring purpose: to guide, to illuminate, and to balance. Even as mortals slept, her work resonated quietly, a reminder that wisdom's influence is often invisible, yet its effects endure far longer than any single action or intervention. The first hints of dawn colored the sky with soft pinks and golds as Athena surveyed the city from her high vantage. Night's quiet still lingered, but a new energy began to stir among the streets and rooftops. She sensed renewed courage and clarity in mortals' hearts, the subtle after-effects of her guidance blending with the natural rhythms of their world. Below, the commander rose with a sense of purpose he had not felt before. Though he could not recall the dream that had inspired him, its lessons lingered subtly in his decisions. Athena watched as he gathered advisors and citizens alike, proposing measured, balanced strategies for governance and defense. His voice carried a calm authority, a reflection of wisdom nurtured invisibly by the goddess. Athena's attention shifted to a nearby marketplace, where merchants prepared for the day ahead. The tension that had previously shadowed their interactions was replaced by a quiet cooperation. Each barter, each conversation, reflected a new balance. Even small acts, sharing supplies, offering guidance, or yielding to fairness, were amplified by her presence, weaving a subtle harmony into the city's daily rhythm. In the quieter streets, children ventured outside to play, their laughter threading through the morning air. Athena lingered nearby, letting her presence gently guide their curiosity and cooperation. The innocence of youth, when nurtured carefully, would ripple outward, influencing families, neighbors, and even leaders. Such moments were small, but essential, a reminder that wisdom begins with understanding the smallest hearts. Athena observed the surrounding countryside as well, noting the movement of farmers, travelers, and wandering merchants. Subtle fears lingered in some, but her influence touched their thoughts, easing hesitation and promoting foresight. Mortals, she knew, were shaped not just by grand events, but by countless small choices made with thoughtfulness. Her guidance ensured that these decisions tended toward balance rather than chaos. Even as the sun climbed higher, she noticed faint traces of lingering discord. the distant echoes of Eris's influence in subtle arguments, in fleeting doubts, and in hesitation at critical moments. Athena did not rush to eliminate these traces. She allowed them to exist just enough to ensure growth. Mortals, after all, learn best when challenged, so long as guidance remained available. By mid-morning, the commander's council convened again. Athena observed from the rooftop above, her gaze steady. Decisions were measured, negotiations thoughtful, and every action carefully considered. Even without direct knowledge of her intervention, mortals acted with increasing wisdom. Small victories accumulated, each reinforcing cooperation, insight, and clarity, the foundation of the city's enduring stability. Athena's mind returned briefly to Olympus. Though she walked among mortals, her divine awareness remained connected to the halls of wisdom. There, the recorded patterns of countless lives and choices awaited her reflection. Her work in the mortal realm was always an extension of the broader currents of destiny, a careful weaving of countless threads into a balanced, meaningful whole. A faint shiver of energy caught her attention. Though subtle, she recognized it instantly as Eris's lingering shadow. Small sparks of doubt attempting to influence a merchant, a traveler, and even the commander himself. Athena's presence stabilized the currents immediately, allowing the mortals to act with reason rather than fear. Balance was maintained, though vigilance remained essential. As the morning advanced, Athena withdrew from the city streets, returning to a high terrace overlooking the surrounding lands. The sun cast long, warm shadows across the hills, rivers, and fields. The day's first light seemed to respond to her presence, glowing softly over the mortal realm she had guided. Athena inhaled deeply, savoring the quiet, measured progress she had nurtured so carefully through subtle, patient wisdom. Twilight draped the city in a gentle veil of purples and golds as Athena returned to her favored rooftop. The sun's last rays lingered on rooftops and walls, casting long shadows that stretched like protective arms over the sleeping streets. Her day of guidance and subtle influence had reached its conclusion, yet she remained alert, ready for any final stirrings of discord. The commander, exhausted but steady, walked through the quiet streets, sensing an unseen calm that seemed to pulse through the city. Decisions made under Athena's gentle influence had begun to bear fruit. Trade continued smoothly, families spoke with understanding, and minor disputes resolved without conflict. The city had shifted toward harmony, guided by the quiet hand of wisdom. Athena paused at the edge of the city gates, her eyes sweeping the horizon. Mountains, forests, and rivers stretched endlessly, all alive with human activity yet balanced by her presence. Even now, distant travelers and leaders moved along paths subtly shaped by her guidance, unaware that a goddess had touched their choices. Her influence was delicate, invisible, yet enduring. A faint, familiar ripple of energy drew her attention upward. Though she had countered Eris throughout the day, whispers of discord still lingered in the edges of mortal hearts. Athena raised her hand lightly, sending a ripple of calm across the city and beyond. The traces of mischief faded under her quiet authority, leaving mortals to act with clarity and purpose, free from the shadows of fear. As night deepened, Athena walked among rooftops and terraces, touching subtle threads of mortal thought and intention. She did not act to control, only to guide, ensuring that wisdom, courage, and foresight could take root. Even the smallest acts, choosing patience, offering kindness, seeking reason, resonated outward, weaving a broader harmony that would endure long after her departure. In the center of the city, the commander paused, looking at the stars emerging in the evening sky. Though unaware of her presence, he sensed a steady assurance in his choices, a quiet clarity that allowed him to rest without fear. Athena lingered nearby, observing the ripple of understanding spreading through mortal hearts, the invisible currents of guidance aligning choices with wisdom. Athena felt a rare moment of stillness, a deep exhale of satisfaction. Her day had been spent guiding without interference, calming without force, and shaping decisions without imposing will. Even Eris's subtle attempts at chaos had been met with patience and foresight. Mortals had grown, even slightly, and harmony had strengthened across the city. The day's work, though invisible, had been profound. Turning her gaze toward Olympus, Athena saw the first glimmers of dawn reflecting from distant marble halls. She would return soon to reflect, to study, and to prepare for another day of observation and guidance. Yet here, among mortals, she lingered a moment longer, savoring the quiet satisfaction of choices made wisely, fears softened, and hearts guided toward balance. Finally, she lifted herself into the night sky, rising above the city as stars shimmered around her. Olympus awaited, but the mortal world would continue, now shaped by wisdom, subtle guidance, and choices born of clarity rather than fear. Athena felt the gentle pulse of life beneath her, steady and resilient, a reminder that her role was not domination, but illumination, lighting paths so mortals could walk them themselves. As she vanished into the distance, the city remained at peace. Lanterns flickered softly, children slept in gentle dreams, and the commander rested with calm assurance. Athena's day had ended, yet her influence would endure. The threads of wisdom she had woven throughout the mortal realm would grow quietly, shaping futures in ways both small and profound. Harmony, patience, and courage. These were her gifts, invisible yet eternal.